Welcome to DevFest 2021. My name is Sachin, a Google developer expert. And in today's session, we'll actually learn about Google Assistant, which is one of my favorites. So let's get started. So quick intro about myself. I'm a CTO of a company called TupeloLife, which is based out of Dallas, Texas. I'm also a Google For Startups Accelerator Mentor. I head the Google developer groups in Doha. I'm a Google developer expert, and I'm active mentor for a lot of startups within the region, writer, blogger, and recently with the whole pandemic situation, started YouTube as well. So for everyone who's joining us today, thank you once again for joining DevFest. So one of the things that I'd like to do is, since it's a 20-minute talk, it's going to be a lightning talk. So there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to have. So let's try and keep it as interactive as possible. We'll have a lot of demos that's been shown. So one of the things that you can do after the event is, or during the event, is go to YouTube, search for Tech with Such. That's going to be my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that. And whatever we're going to cover today from a high level, you can go in and start building from scratch. Everything, no matter what background you're from, you can actually go ahead and start from scratch and build applications, or in this case, you're going to build conversational actions for the Google Assistant. So I would highly recommend by the end of the session, you could go and check this specific one where we had Jessica from Google and myself create a complete actions for the Google Assistant. So that would give you a complete idea how to start, and it will take from the beginners to advanced levels. So you can go through with that. So I would like to actually start off by saying voice is the future. And I'm sure that you will see a lot of similarities in what I'm trying to say from the recent announcements from all the major tech companies, right? We are slowly transitioning towards a voice first future. And what I mean by voice first is, before we had desktop applications, we started interacting from desktop, we moved on to more with mobile. And most of our interactions nowadays is through our mobile phone. And for the past couple of years, or in fact, more than that, what we have seen is a transition or a shift from how people interact with devices, right? So before, you used to have text input, you used to have the keyboard, mouse in the way of how you interact with devices. But more and more recently, with advancements in AI, machine learning, and voice computing, we've come a long way in interacting with computers or devices or even applications directly via voice. So you would see with Google Assistant, which is one of the most famous virtual assistant, you would see that the day-to-day interactions that the user is having with the assistant is via voice. So for everyone who's wondering what Google Assistant is, Google Assistant is your own virtual assistant from Google to get things done for you in the most efficient and helpful manner. So show of hands, or if you could just let me know from in the comment section, how many of you have actually used Google Assistant on a day-to-day life? It could be it could be Google Assistant or any kind of virtual assistants. How many of you have interacted with one? It could be in the form, of your phone, or it could be in the form of smart speakers. So we have Ahmed, who says, I use it for alarms and checking up definitions. Perfect. So as you can see, people have started embracing smart speakers, virtual assistants into their day-to-day life. And once you start using this, it completely changes the way how you interact with devices. So now that we know what a Google Assistant is, once again, for people who have said, Google Assistant is your own virtual assistant from Google to get things done for you in the most helpful manner. And why is it important for you as developers or any brand, company, startups? Why is it important? Because with Google Assistant, you have access across the globe, where you have 19 plus languages being supported and 80 plus countries. And more than that, the most important thing that we are all interested is the devices. Once you build for the Google Assistant, your action. So when I say action, what it basically means is voice application, right? So whenever I say action, it just basically means voice application. So you have access to 1 billion plus devices. Okay, that's a huge thing. So imagine that if you're building a mobile application, you need to upload it to your Google Play Store or Apple App Store. And your user would have to basically download and install the application for you to interact with it. But the advantage that Google Assistant has is once you build the voice application or action for the Google Assistant, once it is approved by Google, no matter which part of the world you are, as long as Google Assistant is there in these devices, your action is also available. So just with a voice like, hey, G, when I say G, I'm saying Google. I don't want to trigger a lot of devices that you guys have out there. But when you say, hey, G, talk to my application, then irrelevant whether you're in your car, smartwatch, your laptop, your mobile devices, iOS or Android, smart speakers, TV, it's going to work, right? So that's the advantage and reach that you as developers, startups, and companies have. So the first thing that you need to keep in mind is for Google Assistant, you have a platform where you actually can go and build. That's called Actions on Google. So Actions on Google is the platform where you can actually go and start building for the Google Assistant. So it's a developer platform that lets you build actions or voice applications that users can invoke. And apart from just the conversational part, one of the things that you have to start understanding is the fact that no matter what kind of a developer you are, right? You could be a web content owner. You might have your own website, any kind of content that you have on the web. That also plays a major role because even the SEOs, search engine optimization, and the way how people are searching for stuff and how Google gives back the content is also changing. So if you go and search before, when you search for a recipe, you just get a link of, the site with the best rank. But now when you go and search for a recipe or how to, you would actually get a step-by-step instruction directly on your search, right? So all of that is possible using content actions. If you're an Android developer, you can even extend your existing applications with the Google Assistant. If you are an innovator in conversational space, let's say you say, okay, I'm not an Android developer, I'm not a web developer, I want to start learning how to build conversational actions from scratch, you can actually do that. And a lot of the tutorials that I've mentioned out there will actually teach you. You don't really need to even have any kind of background, technical background to get started. If you're a hardware developer, and again, this is one of the most used feature of virtual assistants right now, is to basically control your home automation. So for example, I have a device over here. So this, not sure you guys are able to see. So this is basically a remote for the Google TV, which is connected to my projector over here. So this has the Google Assistant button integrated into the remote, right? I have a Google Home speaker behind me, so I can even talk to that, or I can even talk to my Google Assistant directly from my phone, right? So I can even squeeze it, and you can see that the Google Assistant is over here at the bottom. So I'm not going to do the phone thing. So just to kind of show the demo today, I can basically ask directly from, and this is an excellent use case of how you can talk to the assistant no matter which device it is on. So I'm going to say, what's the weather in Sharjah?
Right now in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, it's 33 degrees and mostly sunny. Today, it'll be mostly sunny with a forecasted high of 34 and a low of 26. Due to the current humidity, it feels like it's 43.
Wonderful. So you got the weather. It's 33, which is good. But due to the humidity, it almost feels like 42, right? Or 43. So you get that. And how is this working? This is using the Google Assistant. My voice is getting converted into, my speech is getting converted into text. It goes to the Google Cloud. And then the conversion happens. It triggers, okay, this guy is talking, asking about something. Let me get that information. And this is connected to my old school speakers music system over here, which is actually giving out the results. I can also go ahead and controls home automation things. So for example, lights. So I have my table behind me. I'm sure you guys are able to see that. So what I'm going to do is I have a switch over there, which basically I used to have my computer over there in that table as well. So whenever I want to turn on or turn off my computer and everything that's connected to that specific table, all I have to do is turn on computer.
Got it. Turning on the computer switch.
So you would see that the lights come on behind the scenes and that entire switch is connected to this. And I can also go ahead and basically say, turn off computer.
Sure, turning the computer switch off.
So imagine now with access to just this, try now trying to search for the specific application that specific light is connected to, and then searching in your mobile and then clicking on it and then turning it on and off, right? So I don't basically need to even have my phone or anything around. If that smart speaker is connected, I can just talk and then all of this can happen. The other thing that you can also do is, here's an interesting thing. So I'm just gonna say, turn on projector.
Got it. Turning the TV on.
So now you can see that my projector, which is set up over here, is gonna turn on. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see because of the lights, but it is being turned on, and within a few seconds, you'll see that it's coming on, right? So home automation is a huge thing. If you're a hardware developer, this is an excellent opportunity for you to actually integrate the Google Assistant directly into your hardware devices. So we've already talked about content actions. Just to summarize, before, let's say if you have an application and if you go and say, what's the delivery fee for so-and-so application, right? Before in Google search, you'll just get to see just the link of your website. And you still need to go, users need to go into the website to basically go through the details. But once you have configured to your website to handle content actions, what can it do is when you're talking to the assistant and say, what's the delivery fee, you directly get the information, right? So the user doesn't need to waste time going and clicking on links and searching all the information. So if you're into content actions, especially when it comes to news, podcasts, recipes, FAQs, and how to, do check this out. All you need to do is like make sure that your website follows specific schema markups, right? So in podcasts, as an example, this is all you need to do. So for app actions, so what happens, and again, I'll go through this very quickly. Think about app actions as your way to extend your Google Assistant for your Android applications, right? So people spend a lot of money right now to pay and make sure that people are actually installing. So it could be in terms of marketing campaigns, driving app revenues and installments. But the drop-off rate is also very high because we've all installed a lot of applications in our phone, but we don't regularly use it. The apps that we regularly use might be just social media based applications. So the other option is, for example, if the user needs to order something, okay, he needs to find the app in the list of all these icons that we have, then open the app and then select the recipe, choose some items. We are in step 4 right now. Pick chocolate, indicate the toast level, define how many review your order. So we are already in step 7. And in step 8, we say order complete. So this is typically what a user would go through to use or interact with an application. But with app actions for Google Assistant, what you'll do is direct intent to fulfillment. So how does that happen? Let's see the same thing happen in mobile with the Google Assistant. So without opening your app or searching for it, you can just say order 1 milk chocolate well done from Smos. So Smos is basically like an example application here. So step 1, naturally invoke with voice, done. Step 2, it has automatically added all of this, right? It's gone to the last stage of your application where it asks you to confirm order, and that's it. So with just 2 to 3 steps, the user can basically done specific features or applications directly into your app. So here's another example of Nike Run. So if you have like an application, it just says, okay, when you talk to Google Assistant, it will directly turn on the Nike Run app and start the activity. Start my run in Nike Run Club, and then it will automatically open the app and even start the activity. So you can actually go ahead and do this for your existing Android apps. Okay, so I'm not going to go in depth in built-in intents. Everything that we're talking about is covered in depth in all of the tutorials. I will probably leave the links in the chat section right now. So what does it need from an Android development standpoint? All it needs is a little tweak to your existing application. You add something called actions.xml file. You specify what is the intent, the built-in intent, and which deep link that it needs to have within your Android app. Again, there are Android slices as well. You have slices of application details directly given to the user. So all of this, you can actually go ahead and go through with it. If you're a smart home developer, you can go ahead and check out the SDKs that's available for the Google Assistant. And again, a simple example would be, I will show you how I've built my own version of Google Home device towards the end of this session. And finally, we have building conversational actions. So building conversational actions is very simple. And this is from a very high level what it does, right? So you have a user, the user says a specific query. So I asked for the weather, right? So that speech to text conversion will all be handled by the Google Assistant. And when you say talk to so-and-so app, the Google Assistant then understands that, okay, this person is talking about so-and-so application. Let me check the list of directory that I have behind the scenes. Yes, there is an application for that. So let me hand over that conversation to this conversational action. So this is what you'll be building. And then once you send back the response, it then gets converted back to text to speech and through audio given back to the user. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of these. Again, the slides, I'll share the slides as well towards the end, and how easy it is to get started. I mean, I can actually start building right now for probably 2 minutes, but we are almost towards the end. It is just like clicking, navigating through this UI, and you'll actually get to see the flow as well, right? So I've also mentioned, like, if you are into a hardware this thing, you have an example of this. Hey, Google, what's the time?
The time is 1:34 p.m.
Hey, Google, how tall is Mount Everest?
Mount Everest is 8,848 meters tall.
Hey, Google. So here you can see I built a book version of the Google Home, which is completely portable, no need to be connected to any power source. It has a power bank within the thing. This mic is the only thing visible outside, and you can ask all the questions that I asked Google Home right now. It can do the same stuff. So again, feel free to check out some of these. I will leave the links down below. I do have a question. Can Google Assistant be integrated with iOS apps? With Google Assistant is basically available in both Android and iOS. If you're talking about app actions is currently only for Android applications. But if you're a brand, if you have something specific, once you build for the Google Assistant, no matter if it is Android or iOS, you can have conversational actions readily available for everyone. So if you're interested, you can actually go ahead and go through this Google Assistant tutorial series. There's a complete playlist, as you can see over here. And if you're interested in building chatbots, and from, let's say, you want to integrate with WhatsApp and other things, you can go ahead and go through this entire list of, from starting to more beginner, intermediate, and advanced level tutorials. With that, I would like to thank you all for joining today.
Thank you so much.
GDG Sharjah for having me on the show, and all the best to everyone. Feel free to connect with me on Twitter if you have any questions, and I'll leave my slides over here.
Thank you so much for sharing all these resources and giving us this amazing presentation. We're super happy to have you here, and we hope to see you more here with us.